Hi everybody, welcome. So thanks for hanging out with us all day. So we're here in our final session, but arguably one of the most important, if not the most important, I would say. Certainly one of the most meaningful sessions we have. So this is our Board of Governors Candidate Forum. And so it's a chance to hear from our pathologists here that are running for the Board of Governors, the CAP Board of Governors. I'm Adam Booth. I'm a member-at-large on the House of Delegates Steering Committee, and I'm honored to be able to moderate this session today. So we have 4 candidates before us. Each of them are seeking one of 4 governor positions on the CAP Board of Governors. So this forum gives us an opportunity to ask them meaningful questions, hear about their vision, and really learn about them and what they want to do as a governor potentially. So as Dr. Wu mentioned, our 4 candidates are Dr. Aaron Auerbach, Dr. Diana Cardona, Dr. Kisha Mitchell-Ridgels, and Dr. Eva Wojcik. And so how the session's going to go, you can look in the app to candidate profiles and read more about them. It's also on the website. How the session's going to go, so each candidate's going to deliver a 2-minute opening statement. I'll give them a chance to share their perspectives and their thoughts right now. Then we're going to open it up to the audience Q&A. And then finally, we'll have a 1-minute closing from each candidate. So and with that, I want to go ahead and let the candidates introduce themselves. I'm going to start here with my left with Dr. Wojcik.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Booth. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude that HOD gave us this platform to introduce ourselves to you. I'm sure you noticed my accent. I'm originally from Poland. That's where I grew up, and I finished my medical school there. When I came to this country, I didn't speak any English, learned English studying 4 steps, and from TV. Residency in Detroit, fellowship at MD Anderson. In the middle of the fellowship, I was offered faculty position. After about 2.5 years there, I decided it's time to start my family. Moved to Middle East, where my husband used to work there. And again, I was the only cytopathologist in the entire country. Granted, it was a small country, Bahrain. After, again, 2.5 years and 2 sons, we get back to US when I end up in the commercial lab. So gave me another very different perspective of the practices of pathology. In '97, I was recruited to Loyola, and I'm still there. After all those years, I'm currently chair of the department. Next year, we're going to mark 20th anniversary of me being a chair. I'm also regional medical director for 5 hospitals, 3 hospitals in Illinois, 2 in Indiana. Throughout my entire career, I was passionate about our profession, active in professional societies, past president of American Society of Cytopathology, past president of College of American Pathology Foundation, and I see the time. The only thing I want to say that CAP, it's our organization. It's a home for each and every pathologist.
Thanks, Dr. Wojcik. Dr. Mitchell-Ridgels?
Thank you, Dr. Booth. So I'm a planner and I'm an executor. And similar to Dr. Wojcik, I navigated a career here through a J1 visa, a Conrad waiver, an H1 visa, a green card, and now I'm a citizen. And throughout this pathway, I've learned resilience. I've learned how to adapt. I've learned that you have to have a seat at the table because sometimes you'll be on the menu if not. And I started my career as an academic GI and liver pathologist, and now for the last 10 years, I've been a community pathologist practicing general pathology, and for the last 8 years, a laboratory director. And I share the rewards and the challenges of other members of the CAP. I've worked in the CAP in different levels. When you go to the area of the website that says you should consider being a governor, it asks you, it gives you 3 options to learn to make a bigger impact. One of them is working on a committee, one of them is being a House of Delegate, and one of them is being a governor. I've chaired the curriculum committee of the CAP and the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Committee. I've been a delegate for several years, a member from Connecticut, and a state issues advisor. And now I want to run for governor because I want to make an even bigger impact, to drive strategy, to help implementation, to provide sustained delivery of toolkits that help us be better pathologists, be better advocates for pathology, and ultimately provide better patient care.
Thank you, Dr. Wojcik. And I'm going to say it to our candidates here, I'm going to keep you on time, so I'm just going to say time and you're cut off. So anyway, Dr. Cardona?
All right. Well, good afternoon, and thank you. So my name is Deanna Cardona. I think I've had the privilege of getting to know or meet most of you in the audience, but for those of you that I have not had a chance to meet, I am a mom of an 11-year-old little girl. I'm a wife. I am a practicing pathologist. I have the honor of being the chair of the Department of Pathology for Wake Forest University School of Medicine. I'm also the chief clinical officer for Advocate Health Clinical Laboratories. I'm the current president of the State Society for North Carolina, and I am one of your board of governors. I'm running for my second term for a couple of reasons, but mainly because I think consistency and follow-through matters, especially now during this time of tremendous change in our practice, kind of evolving at such a pace that I don't think I've ever seen before. I've had the honor of doing a lot within the college for over 18 years, but during my first term on board, I was the vice chair, or I am the vice chair for the Council on Government Professional Affairs, which aligns with one of my passions, which is advocacy. I've also had the opportunity to learn a lot more with my first term on the board. I was on the Information and Technology Leadership Council. I am not an IT person, but I'm becoming one. I was a member of the Council on Member and Professional Development, and now I have the opportunity to lead the new initiative on patient-centered reporting, which I think is really one of the best, more recent things that the board has decided to strategically start working on, because it's an opportunity for us to go beyond just being the doctor's doctor and really starting to evolve into the patient's partner. I think that serves as one example of my leadership style. So I really am one that looks at things that allow us to be ambitious, collaborative, and hopefully really provide real value that impacts you in your everyday life, but most importantly, our patients. I think that my experiences overall have allowed me to help the board.
Time. Dr. Auerbach?
Hi, I'm Aaron Auerbach, and I'm asking for your vote for the Board of Governors. If there's one thing that I've learned in pathology by signing out surgical pathology cases, and that is to listen. Listen, listen, listen. I listen to my colleagues. I listen to my fellow clinicians. I'm also a clinician. And I listen to them. I listen to my residents as we sign out. As I'm on the Board of Governors, I will listen to you. I will listen to each and one of you, whether you're a community pathologist with certain issues versus an academic pathologist versus someone in the government like me or in industry. I also think it's really important. We're at a period of time now where AI and digital pathology is not just theoretical. As we talked about today with Dr. Bowie's session, it's reality. And in my day job, I'm well positioned to help us transition to this new time in that I'm in charge of perhaps the largest pathology collection of 60 million slides with a massive digitization program and in the creation of several AI projects. But lastly, I'd like to say that I give kind of a unique perspective because I'm a pathologist, but before I practiced pathology, I was an accountant. And as being an accountant, I have the ability to understand our business. This organization has a big business, and to read our income statements and balance sheets. And in fact, in my last 15 seconds, yesterday, I pulled ChatGPT to see how many accountant and pathologists there are, and it could not name any others. So I think I'm unique. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Auerbach. Thank you all for joining us. So Now I'm going to say it'll be time for some audience question and answer, so please approach the microphone. When you do, introduce yourself, what delegation you're from, and where you practice. Each questioner is going to have 60 seconds, and then each respondent, our candidate here, is going to have 90 seconds, and we have 4 candidates for 4 positions, so we're going to let everybody answer. We're going to alternate who answers first as we move along with each question. And to kick us off, I'm going to take my moderator's prerogative. All right, so I'm going to start off with Dr. Wojcik here on my left. So we've heard a lot about, and we've seen all this encroachment into pathology from industry, from other practices, other specialties. And I like Dr. Auerbach mentioned, I asked ChatGPT some questions myself. And I said, one of the questions was, what is the greatest threat to pathology, right? And I said I wanted a high-level, valuable answer. And it told me that the greatest threat was loss of control of the diagnostic, loss of professional control of the diagnosis. And we heard from Mr. Montoya earlier about passivity, the attorney that spoke. We heard about Dr. Saad mentioning how we've kind of, not charging for billing for things, so we're kind of maybe leaving some money on the table. So all that's more passivity, and we need to be more proactive. So Dr. Wojcik, I asked you first, so what have you done to take action, and then how will you continue to take action if you're elected to the board?
The most important, get involved. Be at the table, wherever the table is. Can be kindergarten table almost for the residents. Lead those residents. Be active. Apply to committee. For faculty, again, each and every one of us should be involved. Each and every one of us has different strength, and not each and every one can be good in advocacy, but can be good in creating benchmarks and providing data. I expect that there's going to be a question, what is the threat? I think the biggest threat is us, meaning us, greater pathology community. We have to get involved. We have to get together. We have to really take our future in our hands. We are custodians of the data. We're going to let this go right now. Our future is going to be truly questionable. This is in the most critical time in our profession, more or less, that making sure that whatever we are creating, we are in charge.
Thank you, Dr. Wojcik. Dr. Mitchell-Richards?
So the 2 parts of that question, what have I done and what I would suggest everyone does, is there are 2 kind of core things. Is one, you have to stay informed. Because if you don't know what the threats are, you don't even know when they're coming. And I always say, not because you're paranoid means nobody's out to get you. So that's the first thing you have to do. Once you're informed, you have to decide what's within your sphere of control. So I think what Dr. Wojcik said is spot on. What can you do at your level? And that's what I've done at my level. So I am present in my organization. I am present in my state society. I'm present in the CAP. I advocate. When somebody calls my name, I say, yes, me. Not everyone can do that, but what can you say yes, me to? Now, when I transition to as governor, I'm going to continue the work I've been doing, and I think the organization has to find a way to combat this unhelpful narrative of impending doom of the pathologists. We are mighty and we're strong. So how do we put together a package for every pathologist to express themselves in a way that conveys that I am the best person for this diagnosis? This is my scope of practice. Respectfully to all of us talking about PAs doing this, PAs doing that, we need to have a package that says, no, you don't. This is what we do. This is what our checklist requires. This is what our DRA requires, and we need to stick to that. Really drive that point home consistently.
Thank you. Dr. Cardona?
Very well said. I loved everything you said, Kisha. Just to give some maybe examples of things that we could start doing and that I definitely have also started doing. I think that when it comes to AI, not to shy away from it and be part of the solution, how we implement those tools going forward to ensure that we are providing best patient care, but that we are the leaders in it, not being replaced, but driving it. I would say that when it comes to everybody wanting to be remote with digital pathology, that is a huge risk. There's beauty in the fact that it provides us flexibility and to meet your needs for whatever that individual's needs are. But as a profession, if we go hiding in our houses, not just in our labs, but now at home, out of sight, out of mind, that is a big threat for us. We got such a great opportunity during COVID of shining the light on the great work and the impact that we do for our patients. Let's not lose that by shying and hiding away now doing remote pathology. And I would say that with the Cures Act and patients have ready access to all of their pathology information, we should be using that to leverage educating our patients on what we do and the impact that we have on their diagnostic and care journey. These are all opportunities. I don't view them as threats as long as we approach them the right way.
Dr. Auerbach?
Yeah, things like AI and scope of practice, these are not threats in and of themselves. They are things we perceive as threats because they're things that are looking at our value and diminishing our value as pathologists. And so we have to combat that and come up with ways that we prove through our patients that we provide the best value. So we have to come through with patient-derived pathology testing. We have to own all of these things. So AI cannot be created by others. It needs to be created by us. And when it's created by us, then we know that we can create pathology that enhances the pathologist and never, ever considers replacing the pathologist. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, with that, we'll go to our audience. Dr. Cooper.
Thanks. Tom Cooper, California. I think nobody would not want to donate to the PAC, and I won't ask that question this time, except, Erin, are you wearing
I'm ready for you.
PAC socks?
They're PAC socks.
Yeah, I didn't think anybody would wear those unless you were worried about the question. So the question is, there used to be a member benefit. May or may not remember it, where we had 15 minutes of free legal advice from Sidley Austin as a member benefit. And I think it somehow just quietly went away. And I'm not going to point the finger and say why. On the other hand, I think there were a lot of people here, given the conversations we've had today, particularly about the need for talking to people about what we can and can't do, that would be a very valuable benefit to reinstate. So I will just basically come right out and say, what do you think about that?
We're going to start with Dr. Mitchell-Richards.
I don't have enough information to answer that question. What I would say is, having heard the request, I would have to get a background on what was it, how did we use it, what did it cost, given our fiscal realities, what does the president think about it, what do the fellow members of the board think about it. When I have all that data, do other members want it? So acquire that information and then make the decision. But at the moment, I can't offer an opinion because that's outside the scope of my expertise.
Dr. Cardona?
Yeah, I mean, similarly, I would say that if that was something that was of interest of the House of Delegates, this is a venue and a forum by which you can gather that information, us back to the board for that reinstatement of that benefit, so to speak. I would guess also, just like we were talking about with the state societies, where it's not so much the 15 minutes of time, but it's really, who do I go to when I need advice? And the CAP will always be that for you. And they will always be able to point you in the right direction, whether it's how do you get a lobbyist to support you, or here's Sidley Austin, information, reach out to them. There's a very fine line on how much the CAP can do because of various regulatory laws and Stark, et cetera. And so there's only so much you can do, but we can always share information and lead you in the right direction, and that will always be there for you.
Dr. Auerbach?
Yeah, Tom, you know this better than I do. The CAP is a members organization. We tend to do things, one of the things that's great about this organization is that we put resources towards the members, right? We do collect some dues, but we put back that in tenfold for resources to its members. And so I agree with my former panelists that as long as these things, go through the appropriate channels, that we will support what our members want. Thank you.
And Dr. Wojcik?
I don't know how much more I can add. The bottom line is information is always good, but we have to know what kind of information, what is the need, what the membership asking for, and exactly, what are the regulatory requirements for that, what we can do about this. But the bottom line, all this has to be channeled to the, eventually to the board, and the decision of the board has to be made based on numerous factors, including fiscal as well.
Thank you. Dr. Lujan?
Yes, hi. Congratulations to all of you. I think all of you are really models for us to follow in your careers for what you achieve. So this position that you're going to have will be definitely well deserved. Now, after that, we all know from what we've been discussing today that pathology is changing. And I'm very optimistic that our position will be brighter and better as diagnosticians in the near future. So now, would you agree with this statement that the time to start forging what pathologists will be doing is upon us? Would you agree with that statement? If so, are we doing enough as an institution, as an organization, to reach that out, or we are already letting somebody else, some other subspecialties start taking pieces of us? That's part of the statement. And if you agree, explain, or if you disagree, explain why. And if you agree, tell us what you're going to do as part of the board of
Thank you,
governors.
Dr. Cardona.
Okay, so I think I understood the question, but should we be framing what our practice looks like in the future? And if so, how do we do that successfully?
Exactly.
So short answer, yes, right? Absolutely, we should be driving what our profession looks like and how we should be delivering care for our patients. Now, how do we accomplish that is not just trying to solve for the problems of today, but looking ahead, where do we see laboratory medicine and pathology 10 years from now? And partnering with those innovators of the field. And Jim's Eye's doing this now. Like, how do we talk to the vendors of the world? How do we talk to the pharmaceutical companies that are ones developing all these companion diagnostics, biomarkers, et cetera, to make sure that we are part of those discussions, framing what the practice looks like? What should laboratory medicine look like in 10 years? We should be defining that, not having folks define that for us and us reacting. So this is really us being proactive as opposed to reactionary, and that's part of what the board should be doing as far as developing the strategy for the college moving forward.
Thank you. Dr. Auerbach?
Thank you, and agreed. We're doing a great job. We're doing as much as we can do. We're probably not doing enough. The college has changed over the past several years, to react to things from the outside. We created CIPI, our Council of Informatics, and that, again, is a great start, but we recognize that we have these challenges, and we have to devote as many resources as we can to owning our field, to making sure that no one else can influence our field.
Dr. Wojcik?
Well, of course, I agree as well. We have to be at the driver's seat. I'm very optimistic. When I started my residency, people were telling me that there is no future in pathology. Machines, computers going to replace me. I'm at the end of my career and I'm doing very well. And the same questions come. But the bottom line is up to us. We cannot hide any longer in those basements. We have to get out of those basements, get out behind the microscopes, on each and every level. As I even starting with residents, be active even among the residents group, among faculty, volunteer, be part. I'm not talking about to you because you are here. I'm talking about to all your partners staying behind and kind of like waiting for this group to make the future better. But it's up to us, and we all have, and each and every one of us has different talents, and we have to utilize those talents as much as possible. If we can be, we have to prove that we pathologists are the leaders of the healthcare team.
Dr. Machorsky?
So I absolutely agree with you. And I think as an organization, we started to do the groundwork. We're developing I also think, like I sometimes say to the residents and the techs, we have some opportunity, right? There are some things we can develop better, faster, that represent our interests. Or I'm going to give you a specific example, and I have some bees in my bonnet, so I'm pulling for one. The CAP guidelines process is powerful. When we put on an educational activity focused around the guidelines, people come, they listen, they want to hear, they implement. We can use that as a tool for implementation of AI, for the role of the pathologist in the implementation of AI, for the role of everyone else. We have these carrots, we have these sticks, and we should use them. We should be putting out guidelines that are heavier, faster, and stronger, making a big splash associated with editorials, paying for Google to launch them to the top of patient searches, and in this way make CAP guidelines synonymous with how everyone performs their activities. So we have the tools, we have the opportunity, and we have to rise to the challenge.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. It gave me goosebumps. I was I want you all.
Dr. Liu.
Eric Liu, California delegation. It's an uncontested, election at this point. So I just wanted to use this to add some context to the question that Dr. Cooper had for your consideration as future governors. In regards to empowering the CAP membership, there are a lot of pathologists that are very passionate about what we're doing, doing here in terms of advocacy and practice management and that type of thing, that have unique problems that are currently a very difficult lift for them, but having a little bit of legal counsel could be the grease that kind of gets the momentum going to be able to fix and address those problems. An example would be like the CP component billing that was addressed today by Dr. DeNicola, but couldn't get an answer from that lawyer. And so having, the CAP provide some legal counsel to maybe not individual members, but to a society, as a benefit of the CAP could potentially be very helpful, I think.
So was your question there, Dr. Liu?
Oh, the question is if you could consider that, maybe go forward and reinstate.
Sorry, Dr. Auerbach?
Yeah, that is a big pull, Dr. Liu. So it's interesting, in my current job, I deal with our legal group a lot. And it's a lot of back and forth. But it is absolutely interesting of considering whether that could be a potential benefit. It may be a little bit out of scope, I think, in my opinion.
One other issue is that our particular problems are very niche. Not every lawyer is going to have expertise in the problems that we have. So having a single source where we can get pointed to an expert in that legal area would be helpful.
That being said, I think in general that the CAP should be able to provide, again, guidelines and overall reaching legal advice. Whether it could happen on an individual specific basis, we'd have to kind of see. But I like the idea in that way.
Welcome, Dr. Wojcik.
Well, I'm going to address these questions based on specific examples since component billing was brought up. I faced this problem back at Loyola practically 15 years ago, at least. And our legal representative at Loyola told me you cannot do it. I reached to Illinois Society for their experience, as well as the information from the CAP altogether. And I proved them that they were wrong and I was right. And since for 15 years, we have been very successful collecting component billing. So it can be done based, again, on the information already existing in CAP. Regarding more specific information, again, that would have to be, again, decision board, at least at the level of the board and president.
So I think if I'm capturing what you're saying from the comment/question, this PCCP billing is an issue, that's an example of something we could take to an attorney to get some feedback on. And I think that's very reasonable, and certainly it's not something I'll forget now that you've brought it up, because we also experienced issues with the PCCP billing and didn't have a lawyer to ask and didn't know at one point there might have been a CAP lawyer to ask. So I think that's a great example. We ended up billing some insurers and not others because the insurers played hardball and started sending letters to the patients with highly inflammatory language. And then they went to the providers. So we kind of arrived at a hybrid solution. But I do see how there would be value to it. It just requires evaluation of the cost-benefit analysis and the uptake, because some of my experiences in the college show me that sometimes we send out surveys and people say, I want this, you provide this, nobody uses it, but you've spent the money on it. So I think we have to do an analysis and then decide, yes, it would be of value, or even a trial and see if it's successful.
Dr. Cardona?
Yeah, I would say at the board level, it really is when you have a finite resource, AKA money, for the college, and you're trying to use that money to the greatest benefit of membership, you have to look at, well, is helping one or two practices the right way to use that money? Or if we did use that money in that way, it's actually because it'll lead to the larger impact for the membership. And so case in point, in a state where the CAP might help you in paying for a lobbyist with your state society, we do that because setting the precedence in that state has implications across the nation, right? If we help California with a lawsuit, and there are times where the college will help, whether it's through legal advice / a white paper / monetary support. It all depends on what the impact is to the greater membership. And so that's not a great, like a very easy answer or a question to answer, because it really, you have to look at the whole problem that we're trying to solve, and again, the impact for the membership.
Thank you. Dr. Zinger?
Hi there, Deborah Zinger from Ohio. In your view, how has the CAP changed in the past 20 years? What have been what you view as real wins, and what are areas that are still challenges?
Dr. Wojcik?
I guess it's me. The very first thought came to my mind was, look at us. Do I have to say anything more? I think board looks completely different. When I started, even my residency, frankly speaking, when I started my residency, and I always was going into academia, I was being told, CEP, it's not for you. CEP is for the private practice. This is not your organization. But right now, I think CEP is organization, truly organization for all of us. Whatever practice setting we are working in, either commercial labs, private practices, academic medicine, everyone, it's truly a home for all of us. And I think that's truly a difference. And we are very diverse society, and definitely very diverse board.
Dr. Mitchell-Richard?
So that's a hard question to answer.
And I also want to say I asked for that still need to be improved.
In 90 seconds.
My time is out.
Okay. In my 80 seconds, I think we've evolved as an organization to really have a lot more visible presence of academic pathologists in our councils and committees. That's one change I've seen. But the flip side to that is that I do think we've somehow a little bit lost in some of our councils and committees the impact of the community pathologists, which represent 50% of the population of our practices. So there is both the reward there and there's the opportunity that exists. What was the other part of your question?
How has it changed over 20 years?
No, you said something else.
The pluses and the minuses.
Okay. And in turn, I appreciate the change where we are more representative of not only the pathologist landscape, generally speaking. I mean, in our match, which we were very successful in, 37% of the pathologists who matched were IMGs. And so we've really intentionally embraced everyone, not necessarily, I think, shortchanging anyone, but making a space for everyone. And I think those are some of the very strong positives that we've had over the years.
Yeah, so maybe to highlight a different one, and I know that being here in advocacy, and that's kind of where I grew up in the college, I can't imagine where we would be without the CAP. And I know that we see that we keep on getting cuts, but that's cuts after a lot of advocacy, preventing deeper cuts. And so I know that that might not seem like the silver lining that you're looking for, but I can just tell you that without the CAP having our backs, our situation would much be very different. I would say as far as opportunities, we've got 20,000 members in the CAP. You guys are all the diehards. You guys come to these meetings every year. We see the same faces every year. Engagement is part of our problem. We need 20,000 voices screaming in unison, amplifying our voice. Can you imagine how powerful we would be if we had 20,000 members donating $1, obviously more than that, but just donating to the PAC, donating to the foundation, coming to Hill Day? That would be powerful. That's the problem that we need to solve for, is engagement.
Dr. Auerbach?
Dr. Singer, thanks a lot for the question. I think it's a good one. Just a different angle on it, though, over that maybe people from the audience don't always think of, but over the past 20 years, we have really grown as an organization financially. So we are a big, giant financial organization now, and we've gotten stronger. We're currently very strong, too. However, like one thing that could be improved is diversification of like our financial stuff. So I know you probably do too at home. In our own financial portfolios, we try to get diversified as we can. And the CAP is also, but we still get the majority of our revenues from our proficiency testing and from our accreditation process. And so, you know, we're really looking for other ways to grow that part of our organization. And in my mind, there's opportunities in big data, in selling data, in some of the proficiency testing that we saw before, in artificial intelligence, in developing it, in controlling it, in validating it, coming up with proficiency testing for it, and through industry too. So there's all these opportunities and ways that we can change that in the next 20 years. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. San Francisco.
Good afternoon, Joe San Francisco, South Carolina. Some survey data was shared with the group earlier about hiring trends expected in the next few years, and it's no secret that the market is quite competitive. Conversely, if you look at the top of the list, general anatomic and clinical pathology is the #1 need that those answering the surveys had looked for. Pathology is unique for lots of reasons. One is that as a categorical residency, academic-based institutions overwhelmingly train our residents. So my question for those up on the stage is, as board members, how do you see the CAP's role in ensuring that those graduating can adequately supply the needs that are shown in the surveys earlier today? So I'd look any examples or suggestions you all have as board members for that. Thank you.
We're going to start with Dr. Mitchell-Richards.
So thank you for that question. I have to really think the CAP would facilitate is, but one strong thing that I think we need to start to be doing is offering community pathology fellowships. So or electives / fellowships. There are several electives fellows can choose from, and none of them tend to be how to work in a community practice, observing a general practitioner. I've tried to offer, now my colleagues are not warm and fuzzy about it, so when we talk about it, I've proposed it would be, the bulk of the time would be spent with me with a little, which they can tolerate enough. But we have to open ourselves up to doing that. And I think if there's a way that as an organization we could bridge the gap between academic centers and community practice by allowing residents and fellows to rotate in our areas and see what we do and understand what the day is like, then that's going to help with the preparation of these residents and fellows when they start training, so they're not crippled by that tubular adenoma on the first day of sign out. It really is just a tubular adenoma.
I think that we need to get a lot more data. There was a survey a couple years ago that I remember of private practice groups and their concerns with newly hired out of training residents. And one of them was communication, right? And so again, like doing that survey again, how are our new in practice pathologists doing? What are areas that are still opportunities for us to close some gaps out of training? So that's one thing. And doing that through our GME committee that we have through the college, and then partnering with ACGME, for example, to change what are those criteria for training. That would be one idea. The other one is partnering with our state societies. So if you're an academic center and you don't have the opportunity to, work with a VA or work with a community practice, your state society is that way. And so within North Carolina, we launched a new training advisory council. We engaged all of our 4 academic, and we've now done a mentorship program for trainees in our state. Do you want a mentor that's at a private practice? And kind of building those relationships. So I would say it's not just the CAP, but look to your local state societies as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to go with our quote from earlier today: stories open doors and data keeps them open. So you mentioned, this idea of maybe like general practice as part of the needs, within our field. And I'll do, my story with that is I grew up adjacent to the military medical system. And the military medical system is based on general surgical pathology. You can go out and do fellowships, but everyone gets really well trained in general surgical pathology. I think maybe in some ways it's much more emphasized than the civilian sector. But I do really think that we need the data for that. The data will keep the doors open. We really do need to say that. There's other surveys saying, of course, that people are looking for people that are into informatics, with the knowledge of increased machine learning and digital pathology in the future. And then ultimately, we're going to have to balance that. And the balance we need to do needs to be nimble. We're going to need to be able to change our training and not be stuck in concrete training methods, right? With a training that has to be X number of years, we need to be nimble and be able to figure out what does our subspecialty need and how do we change it. We can't be locked into 3 years or 4 years and then consecutive 1-year fellowships.
Dr. Wojcik?
Of course, I don't want to repeat that data is the most important. We have to know what are really our needs. But at the same token, when we're talking about residents, it's more or less too late. We have to go back to undergrads, we have to go to high schools, we have to make those students, high school students, undergrad, medical students, inform what is pathology all about, what are the opportunities in pathology, through whatever practice you have. And again, for this, we need right data. And that's exactly what also CAP is doing. I cannot mention, of course, I have to mention CAP Foundation, that's where we have all these awards, travel awards for bringing medical students to our annual meeting to show also what is pathology really all about. But the market is tough. As a chair of the department, I can feel it. It's a different story than a few years ago, but at the same token, I proudly can say that we are training the residents who feel comfortable in any settings. Our residents are very successful in the community practice and very successful in academic institutions. So that's also on each and every residency program to prepare all our trainees to all possibilities. Look at my life.
Thank you, Dr. Wojcik. All right.
Thank you.
A question on my left here.
Robin Olney from Texas. So kind of putting things together with scope of practice and kind of the AI threat/opportunity and our advocacy day and the theme of keeping ourselves at the table. Do you think that the current regulatory framework keeps us at the table, or are there gaps? And if there are gaps, what would you close? In other words, do we need legislation or regulations to help us with governing AI?
That's a really easy question. So I think that we're fortunate where it's still early, and I think there's a lot of questions and unknowns. So regulation is being built as we speak. And so we need to make sure that we're at the table. And so, for example, the CAP is involved in CHI, which is one of the organizations that is trying to develop what that regulation is. The risk is that it might not be what we want it to be. And so, again, ensuring that we amplify our voice, not just as CAP, but with all other pathology organizations, laboratory medicine, organizations as well, to ensure that we are singing the same tune is definitely something that we need to be very proactive in doing. And I am a firm believer if every time we are at the table or advocating that we keep the patient at the center of everything that we are advocating for, we will be successful and we will make the right decisions. And so I don't have the answer exactly what we need to do, but being at the table, being informed is critically important.
Dr. Auerbach?
Yes, I really strongly feel that we need to push this legislative effort as much as we can. I don't think we're doing enough, even though I think compared to most of our other pathology organizations, we're doing 1,000 times more than most of the other organizations. And so it kind of feels like it's up to us. Like if it's not up to us, then I don't want to name specific organizations, but they're not going to do it, and our field could have real effects to it in the future. So we need to get up there. We need to get out there. We need to put the finances of this organization towards this effort. I mentioned before that there's certain things that fund other things. Well, this is something that we need to fund big time.
As we mentioned, this is a critical moment for us as a profession. We have such an opportunity to be really leading those efforts and be in charge of this and being the custodian of all the data we are producing. But exactly, we not only we have to be at the table, we have to sit at the head seat at the table. We have to really lead those efforts together, and that's another thing, together as an all pathology community. It is time between all of us as a pathologist to work together, regardless what organization we are. And of course, CEP by itself, it's the leading force for this united efforts.
So we have a good regulatory base to build on. We have CLIA. Let's not forget that we have CLIA. And with the LDT issue going away, we can leverage the tools and the language in CLIA to create the guidelines, work on the items in the checklist that actually help to secure our future. But we have to be bolder. We're the only set of people that let you do another residency, do a one-year fellowship, and then attach pathologist to your name. I could never do a one-year fellowship in radiology or something and then say I'm an interventional radiologist. We are not actually protective enough. So even within the boundaries of CLIA, we can take that language. Would I love a law that says the pathologist is the supreme ruler of everything diagnostic? Yes, I would love that. That's not happening. So I think we have to look at the language in CLIA, look at the regulation we have now and say, what are the tools we can use to use that language to say, actually, CLIA does say we're the supreme ruler, and this is how you show it. So there is opportunity. Could it be better? Yes, we're working on it through advocacy, but we already have something, and we should build on that and start closing the gates, telling people, if you don't do a residency, you are not a pathologist. You can't just do dermatology and do 1 year and say you're a dermatopathologist. We have to stop doing that, and don't let anybody else in.
Dr. Dugan?
Thank you, Dr. Booth. Dr. Wojcik, Dr. Richards, Dr. Cardona, Dr. Auerbach, thank you so much. You're all four very qualified candidates, and I'm going to ask you to indulge yourself a little bit here. Could you describe you've been involved in various CAP committees and other activities. Can you describe one thing that's been a particular challenge that you've had to address and how you've done it and what you're most proud of in terms of your accomplishments within the organization thus far and how you would expand on that going forward?
Dr. Auerbach, we'll start with you.
Sure. Just something that pops off the top of my head, but I was involved with the group, not in charge of it, with the group that started our wellness. I think we were originally an action group. And one thing that reminded me is what other pathology organization would have a wellness group? So that is a group that's concerned about the wellness of its members. And what that showed me is that this organization is so big that we can have these splintered off groups. We see it here, we see it at all our meetings, that we have these 6 large, robust, I think it's 5 or 6 councils, and all these different committees that can do such a great different group of things. And this wellness action group was just turned into a subcommittee, I believe, last month. And so I'm proud that it keeps going forth. And so that means that there's a group of people here that are worried about your health, Mike, within your own group.
Dr. Wojcik?
Most of my activity was devoted really to the foundation, where I spent over 10 years. And of course, one of the most proud, I would say, achievement is that finally we balanced the budget, which was quite unthinkable, maybe like about 3, 4, 5 years ago, but finally we're at this moment. And I think we elevated through all the foundation's activity, the image of pathology within our institutions, particularly, of course, I have to talk about C-Test and Treat, which I think is the most amazing program, gives us such a visibility with our institution, and speaking from Loyola perspective, really elevated our department on completely different level. Right now, I think the biggest compliment I heard from during one of those events, one of the nurses was kind of saying to the other, look how incredible this event is, and it was organized and led by a pathologist. So I think we really have proven that we can be the leader and true leader of the healthcare team.
I feel like I've had a few challenges in the college, which have been exciting, but still. One of them is in the work that I've done on the curriculum committee in putting together the content for the annual meeting. And I think it can be a very difficult endeavor to take everybody's interests and try to have a production that you think still reflects the quality of the work that you and your colleagues on the committee are doing. But I think what we've tried to do is listen to as many voices as possible, but then take that and distill that into a product that reflects the data that we've gotten out of surveys and information, and yet try to adapt even little by little to some of the requests that we've gotten. And that's not been easy, and it's been continuous work, and it's ongoing work. But, some of the voices, we've tried to reduce concurrent courses, but still maintain the appropriate material. So there is a lot that goes into that product, and it is very challenging to deliver on it in such a way that is still substantive. And so that, I would say, is the biggest challenge, but also the biggest reward when people enjoy it. And we do that through hearing all the information and recognizing that you still have to distill that into what matters.
Dr. Cardona?
I think one example would be the pathologist quality registry for me. And so there was a lot of challenges the first time we had a proposal of creating a quality registry. It wound up being no. It's a no-go. We're not going to do it. Fast forward a couple years, regulation changes, and then now the calculation made sense for us to move forward. And then it was creating all the quality measures for you guys to be able to comply with a program that wasn't built for pathologists. So that was a big challenge, and how do we make sure we create measures that make sure that you can meaningfully participate in the program and do so successfully. I learned a lot in my leadership style through that whole exercise of chairing and developing the Quality Clinical Data Registry. Having tomatoes thrown at you with your ideas, you grow thick skin. But no, I say that jokingly. Honestly, it's probably one of the most things I'm proud of in the college is what we have created. And I know that for you guys, it's a pain in the butt, and I do apologize, but we have tried to make it as easy and as burdenless as possible to ensure that you guys can comply with the regulation and with the program. And so I think that is one of the things that is part of the legacy. But obviously it wasn't me, it was a whole committee, and it's all the CAP staff that do all of it. I was just fortunate enough to be able to be part of it.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you all for your questions today. Thank you to our candidates up here for answering our questions and sharing candidly and responding. And so now we're going to finish up with, we'll allow each candidate to give a 1-minute closing statement. We're going to start here with Dr. Wojcik on my left.
The only thing I would like to say that would be the greatest honor for me to be part of this board. I've, in my capacity as a president of CAP Foundation, I serve on the board, so I know exactly what this board means, what kind of work and time commitment it is. So I'm fully prepared for this challenge. But I also wanted to make one more statement about CAP. Whenever we are talking about CAP, we are thinking about here our national organization. CAP is truly global. And CAP brand is so well recognized outside the boundary of United States. Exactly, just Facebook reminded me, exactly a year ago I was in Saudi Arabia and seeing the CAP accreditation, how proud they are.
Thanks, Dr. Wojcik.
Thank you.
Dr. Mitrovicius.
So I want to recognize and acknowledge that there are 4 spots and 4 candidates, and I share the stage here with 3 brilliant colleagues, but none of us is trying to phone it in, right? We're all committed to the work. The work I do in the CAP, some of the most meaningful aspects of my career, which starting from my days at GW, and I want to continue to do that on a larger scale, on a bigger level, and really provide and deliver on some of the tangible things that you ask for and some of the things that I think of. And so I am ready to make a bigger impact, and I would just ask that you support me in doing that and my colleagues, even if there are only 4 for 4 spots.
Dr. Cardona.
Thank you. Well, so first of all, thank you for electing me for my first term, and thank you for the opportunity to hopefully serve a second term. It is rewarding, and I really just want to encourage you guys to take the leap. Put your hand up. You're here. That means you're engaged. That means you really are passionate about your profession and about what the CAP offers you. And taking the next step is getting on the board. It's great that it's 4. Honestly, I would love to not have a contested election. But if I think about what's best for the CAP, what's best for the CAP is to have candidate pool so that you guys can choose who you feel is going to represent you the best. And so I would just again encourage you to raise your hand. If I can help tell you how I juggle it all, and it's possible. And so I don't want that to be what makes you scared to try. So let me know if you want to talk.
Dr. Auerbach.
Yeah, thank you all for your attention today. I know it's the end of, or it's not the end because we still have partying to do, but it's the end of the end of this part of our long day. I wanted to say that I've been very fortunate in the opportunities that I've had in my career and my day job, but that the highlight of my career has been on serving on this pathology board over the past year. So it's been a great honor to my fellow colleagues that I sit with. It's the greatest of honor. I agree with Diana that everyone should raise their hand and try to do it too. I'd like to also give the quote I gave to remind us before, that stories open doors and data keeps them open. I like that as a theme of today. You know, I'm going to be around involved with the CAP either through the board or in other capacities to give my stories and to help build the data that we need within our field. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Auerbach. All right, can we give a round for all of our candidates? Hold on. All right. So that'll conclude our 2026 Governor's Candidate Forum, and I'd like to just share, too, that briefly, that the voting will take place. All CAP members will be emailed electronic ballots on August 4th, 2026, and we'll install the new governors at the CAP annual meeting October 3rd in Las Vegas. And thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Booth. Thank you to all our governor candidates.